Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my April, I had to think about the month, my April show and tell. As usual, I have a gigantic pile of stuff around me. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I like to talk about all things tarot, oracle, divination, witchy stuff, a little splash of self-worth here and there, you know, that kind of stuff. So if you like that kind of content, definitely subscribe, hang around here. We do a lot of fun things. But now I want to get into all the things that I experienced, enjoyed, and some memories from April. So let's talk memories because there was a few. The first is I got to go to one of my favorite metaphysical stores in the Vancouver area called Banyan Books and Sound. I went with a friend. We had an amazing time. I was there for hours and I had a store credit to spend, so we had a great time. I came back with a huge haul of stuff. If you're curious about all the goodies I got, I'll try to remember to link the video, the live stream that I did where I showed all the goodies I got from Banyan, but that was a ton of fun, so I definitely wanted to mention it as one of my memories. Peggy and I also had a chance to go to our son Steve's for a really nice dinner. It was awesome. We just hung out. It was kind of nice to just kick back and enjoy some family time. The most memorable thing I think that happened actually in April only happened a couple days ago, and it was when Peggy and I got trapped in an elevator for 2 hours, over 2 hours with our dogs. That was an adventure for sure. I've never been stuck in an elevator before. I am claustrophobic, so that was fun. I kept my shit together. I'm very pleased with myself actually, but I did really well when we were in there, so that's good, but it was a really long time. It was quite the saga. I'm going to spare you all the sordid details, but just leave it. I'll summarize by saying the elevator company took a really long time to get there, and we didn't have our phones, so we couldn't tell the passage of time or tell even what floor we were stuck on or anything. So that was a whole thing that I hope to never ever experience again in my life, ever, because it was super stressful, but we're fine. Everything's fine. The doggos did great. We just played with them and petted them, and we're like, it's fine. We're all going to be okay. That happened. That happened in April. Definitely something I don't think I'll ever forget, but we were fine. There was no like actual emergencies that happened, but it was not a fun time. Do not recommend. Also, highly recommend you always have a phone with you if you're going in elevators. Lesson learned. And always don't hesitate to call emergency services if you are in an elevator and the elevator people aren't coming. Because yeah, the firefighters and stuff are trained to come get you out of elevators. So yeah, highly recommend not hesitating if you're feeling like the elevator, like if you hit the help button and they don't send somebody really soon, like don't do what we did and just like continue hoping that they are really going to be there anytime, because they weren't. It took them a really long time. So yeah, that was the thing that happened in April. Not a fun time. Not a fun time. All right, let's talk about YouTubey things. There's a few things I definitely want to highlight from April that were a lot of fun. The first of these is I started a hashtag called #MyAdorableDecks so that I could, on a live stream, share with you guys all of my adorable decks. It was lengthy. It was a blast. I came on in my unicorn horn and my like rainbow, I think I was wearing like yellow and orange eyeshadow. We'll talk about makeup in a little bit. But I was wearing bright colors and came on and like just showed all of my favorite, well not my favorite, I just showed all of my adorable decks and it was so much fun. It was a completely self-serving hashtag, like no lie. I just wanted to see everybody's adorable things and there was a lot of great responses. I have an entire playlist of the VRs to that tag, including my original video, so I will also link that up in the cards. Pretty sure that's where it's going to show up. I'm pretty sure it's going to be here. Pretty sure. Anyway, so I will link that up in the card thingy as well, so you can check that out. But it was a lot of fun. Also did another VR in April all about my top 10 tarot deck guidebooks, and that was a lot of fun. I think I just called it hashtag top 10 guidebooks. That was fun. I made it a tag just because, honestly, at the end of the day, I just really wanted to talk about my favorite guidebooks, and it's been a highly requested video. I'm really somebody who really appreciates a good guidebook with a deck, and it was really fun to make a video talking just about that stuff. So I will also link that for you, either up above or down below, because there's going to be a lot of links, so I only get a few I can put up there, just so you know. But that was a ton of fun. And Tarot with Ruby, whose channel I will link down below, I'll actually link this specific video. She did a say yes to the deck, a really cool thing where she kind of said, here's the decks I'm thinking about, and she asked her audience, the people watching her channel, to help her pick her deck. I'm trying to think now, I don't think she's announced officially which one has won But that was super fun. It was super fun to see her do a Say Yes to the Deck for herself. If you don't know, Say Yes to the Deck is a series that started here on the channel where I sort of bring you with me while I try to choose a deck, and then I bounce things off of my wife, Peggy, and that's a lot of fun, and it was just fun to see somebody else take that and like restructure it and do it for themselves. That was super fun. So I will definitely link that down below. I had a blast watching that. You must check out our last collab episode of Three Fat Readers. That's the collab channel that myself, Danny Mystic, and Dustin over at Modern Metaphysicae, we get together once a month. We have a live stream. We talk about fun tarot related things, and we had one of these. We do them every month, obviously. We had one in April all about pip decks, and if you do nothing else, just go watch it to see what Danny is wearing, and you'll understand when you get there. But just trust me, it is worth the watch. It is fabulous. But it was really fun to talk about pip decks and our different approaches to pips. It ended up being a really fun discussion, as it always is. I don't know what we're doing in May yet. So at the time you're watching this, I don't know if we've picked our topic. But I do believe we're coming up on 3 years doing Three Fat Readers, which is kind of a cool thing. So we'll probably do something fun for that. So keep an eye out. And lastly, I really wanted to shout out Lennon Smith. So if you don't watch Lennon Smith on YouTube, she makes really like meaty, substantial content about tarot, not just Thoth. I've talked about her Thoth videos before, but she did a video in April called A Long Nutshell Look at the Tree of Life, and it is incredible. I've already watched it twice. I've got it still in my list to watch again because I'm not quite sure I've absorbed everything yet, but it's really good. I really enjoy when Lennon just kind of puts the camera on and starts talking about the details of decks, symbology, all that kind of stuff. I find it incredibly helpful to listen to somebody's sort of thinking out loud kind of thoughts about tarot. I find that I learn a lot that way. I really appreciate being brought into somebody's mental processes around stuff, and Lennon's channel has always been that way, and I've always enjoyed watching it for that reason. So highly recommend you check out Lennon's channel, and specifically this nutshell look at the Tree of Life, which is all about the Kabbalistic Tree of Life and the Sephirot and how they relate to the tarot, and it's excellent. It's excellent. So really enjoyed that, and definitely recommend you check it out. Okay, we've reached the point at the video in which I warn those of you who have zero interest in makeup to skip to the next timestamp, because this is the timestamp where I talk about all the things body and beauty related that I've been really enjoying this month, and I love this section of the video, but I also recognize that many of you are not here for this, and I completely appreciate and understand that, but I need a reason and excuse to talk about my makeup-y things. So see you in a minute if you're one of those people. If you're not one of those people, let's talk about all of the eyeshadow palettes I used in April, because there was a lot of them and I had a lot of fun. I'm doing this thing where I'm kind of systematically going through all of my palettes and trying to do a different look with a different palette each time, and it's been really fun. So every single time I wore eyeshadow, I used a different palette. Well, one of these I used twice, but I wanted to start out with talking about what I was wearing in my Adorable Decks video, because it was a really fun look. It was really bright. I have this adorable palette by Sugar Pill called the, what is it called? The Fun Size palette. And these are the colors. They're really pretty, but they're all mattes and they're all really bright colors. So what I did is I went to Sydney Grace, which is a indie makeup brand, and I ordered metallic colors to kind of line up with these colors, and that's what I've ended up with here. So for my Adorable Decks video, I was working with I think I was yellow, orange, and red, or yellow, orange, and pink. I think it was actually yellow, orange, and pink that I used for that look, because I wanted a sort of sunsetty, bright look. So I used the yellow, orange, and pink here for that look, and then I also combined it with the metallics that kind of match. But see how I laid them out the same way so that I could pair them together and use them for different rainbow looks. But these are the reason I don't get as tempted to buy colorful or rainbow palettes, because I have like the perfect rainbow matte palette, and then I have the perfect metallic rainbow palette. So I have all the colors I could want that way. Every once in a while I'm like, oh, I wish I had like, I don't know, a mint green or something. But actually there is a mint in this one. And actually, is there a mint? No, it's not quite minty. It's a little bit bolder in this one, but every once in a while I'm like mildly tempted. But I just put the Sydney Grace singles in this little mini palette, and this is super fun. So usually if you see me in like a rainbow looking look or anything like that, it's these two that I'm playing with. Love those. And then I did looks. I did a neutral look, and I did a purple look with my two little Viseart Theory palettes. These are fantastic. I'm assuming, I think these are both still sold. So the first one I got was this one, and it's the Viseart Theory palette called Minx, and I've used the crap out of this. I've talked about it before, but it's got these 3 mattes on this side, which are perfect for kind of structuring the look. And then you have these 3 shimmers, or metallics rather, on this side. So you have like a champagne, a copper, and a burgundy. And I usually use the champagne in the inner part of my eye with one or both. Usually just one of these. And I think I used the copper this last time. But I think I used this palette. I want to say I used this palette in March too, but anyway. And then I did a purple look. So if you saw me in purple eyeshadow, it was with this palette. This is the one called Amethyst. And again, you have the 3 mattes so you can structure the look. And then I don't really like this color here. I don't like as much because it's a little more like, I don't know, powdery. But these 2 look really good for doing like a darker metallic on the outer part of the eye and then a lighter metallic on the inner part. I've used the crap out of both of these palettes and they're super convenient. You can actually pop out, like these are like little magnetic thingies and you can actually pop the shadows out. So I used to keep the shadows in a larger palette like together, but I much prefer them in their original packaging. So that was fun. And I think I actually used this palette at the very beginning of the month. And I think this was the first eyeshadow look that I used. This one is called, oh gosh, I'm not going to remember and it doesn't say. Anyways, these are all her special shades. Let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. So this one is one of those drier kind of sparkly shades. And then these other ones, they're all baked basically. But I did a look with all just these shadows and it looked really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Loved this. This was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy this. This is the Wayne Goss. I've talked about this before. The Wayne Goss Luxury Eye Palette in Pearl. I think this is sold out right now, but it is really, really pretty. What I really live for in this palette is this shade, this special shade up here. This is I don't know how to describe what this does, but I love putting it over other eyeshadow looks. So I will regularly reach for this palette, like just for this shade. I wonder if I can do this without making a total mess of myself. Probably not. It's got this kind of like reflect in it that makes it look wet. I don't know if you'll be able to see how wet my finger looks, but it's like a dry, like, it's probably not going to show up on camera at all. Oh, it's maybe catching the light a little bit. It's really hard to describe, but it's like a sheer topper shade and like just the way the reflex are. I don't know. I love putting on like a cream eyeshadow or something and then I'll pop just that color over top. I've talked about it before, but I did but I did use just this palette to make eyeshadow looks a couple times and I really, really love it. These shades up here, like this shade is a great like dark shade. It's different than like a black or like a really dark brown. It's just got a grayish kind of purpley kind of tone to it, I guess. And this one's kind of reddish. It just makes really soft, pretty looks. So I played with that a couple times in April? What month is it? April. And then I love this palette so much. This is the only, I've got 2 ColourPop palettes now, and that's it in my collection. And this is one of the ones I kept. This is the Mandalorian palette. I call it the Child. Yeah, it's called Mandalorian the Child. It's so cute. I love the Child, but really I love these colors. So I have so much fun. I have so much fun making eye looks out of these shades. I get really pretty green looks out of this palette. I love it so much. And really I almost always do the same thing. So I'll use this like pale green in the center to focus on the palette, please. I'll use this pale green in the center to kind of as like a transition, and then I'll use this color usually to blend that out and like create a little more depth in the crease, and then I'll usually go in with that color on the outside part of my eye and this color on the inside, and I'll use this one right here for the really, really dark accents. I don't usually use this row too much. I do sometimes go in there, but like to me this column rather is very like just basic neutral, whereas all the other 6 shades are all for green looks, and I am here for it. Food stuff. So Peggy and I should have a video clip, and I will put it up on the screen for you, but Peggy and I went to have hot pot, and there was a robot server. So yes, the hot pot was delicious, but the robot server was delightful. I don't know how else to describe it, but I had to catch him on camera, or her on camera. I don't know. Very, very cute. Cat ears, adorable. I could not stop staring at it like the whole time we were at dinner. So I was very distracted by that. Also, the other food thing I wanted to talk about, I haven't eaten yet because I wanted to show you guys, which I realize is completely ridiculous, but I mean, like, I know it's going to be delicious, but I had to show you my Easter chocolate, which again, I clearly have not eaten yet, but I mean, it's a squirrel. It's a squirrel Ferrero Rocher chocolate. So now that I've shown you guys, I can now eat my Easter chocolate. I'm very excited. I love Ferrero Rocher. This is hollow milk chocolate and hazelnuts. I I love this candy to start with, but to find it in a squirrel was really exciting because if you don't know, I am a bit of a squirrel at times, just saying. Let's talk about, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about randoms and then we're going to get into books and decks because I have a lot to say. I also have a lot of randoms, but we're going to cruise through. So, the first thing I have to shout out, I already did this. I already talked about this in the Supportive Tarot Facebook group if you're in there, so I apologize for the repetition, but Peggy got a new fabric in and she made this she like made these 2-pocket wrap bags, and in the very first batch, she literally just pulled one off the top and handed it to me and said, "I know you're going to steal one, so like here you go." She was right. But it's gorgeous. Look at the moon phases. I don't know if I'm holding it upside down. Am I holding? Yeah, I'm holding it upside down. Look at this. So this is what the back of it looks like. But isn't that gorgeous? And it opens up. And if you don't know, Peggy's 2-pocket wraps, she and I worked together on this because we wanted a design that would hold a Llewellyn set. So these are actually designed to hold those sets that have the Llewellyn book. So there's 2 pockets. So the Llewellyn sized book will fit in the back, and then the deck will fit in the front, either in its own pouch or by itself, like loose. It's fine either way. I've used it both ways. I ended up falling in love with these because I really like putting 2 decks, like putting whatever book I'm working with in the back, and then I usually put 2 decks side by side, kind of upright this way, versus turning it sideways. I can fit 2, and then it becomes like a bit of a kit. And then the nice thing is that this part opens up and you have a reading cloth. So anyways, she put these up. They sold out like right away. She is currently about to put up a new batch. In fact, at the time I'm filming this, she's just finishing up some more of these, this fabric and everything. She's finishing up some more of these, and I think she's hoping to get them up along with some other things out of this fabric this week. So if you watch Peggy's shop, usually she does updates on Thursdays. If she has a reason, sometimes she will miss a Thursday, but typically uploads happen on Thursdays or updates happen on Thursdays. And if we're smart, we tell you guys when the updates have happened, but sometimes we forget. So keep an eye on the shop Thursdays. And usually it's late Thursdays. So my time Pacific, it's usually Thursday night, like sometimes as late as 10 o'clock my time. So yeah, that's when to watch for it. But these are coming back. But I love this. I've used it all throughout April, and I'm still using it with the decks I'm working with in early May. So if that gives you any indication, I have to put it here so that I can put my stuff back in it. So there's that. Other random things. I got back into crochet. This is my other Easter present. So I got a little kit. I forget I think it's called Woobles. I got a Woobles kit, and it's like it teaches you how to make these crochet toys called amigurumi. So I went down a total amigurumi rabbit hole. If you know me, you know I go down these rabbit holes. It's fine. I will have more to show you next month because, like, first of all, how cute is he? Like, I messed up his ears, but like, I made him. I crocheted him, and he makes me super, super happy. He's adorable. I'm making more. I've actually ordered some yarn and some new crochet hooks and a book all about amigurumi and like different toys that I can make. So I'm going to be making these because they're so fun, and I really missed crocheting, and it was really fun to do a project that didn't actually take all that long, and that it was a lot of fun. I really am happy about him. So keep an eye out for more of my amigurumi adventures, but there will be more happening for sure. Okay, the next thing is kind of like an art supply-ish sort of deal. So I talked about in my adorable decks, and I think I've done a full walkthrough of the Kawaii Tarot that has artwork by Lulu Mayo. I don't know how I stumbled on this information, but Lulu Mayo has coloring books. Hello, I like to color. So I picked up, I think this is her latest book, A Million Magical Creatures, Enchanting Characters to Color, and it's basically the Kawaii Tarot in a coloring book. I will have this link down below because it's amazing. She also has a bunch of other books, including A Million Unicorns, A Million Sloths, A Million Mermaids. She has a bunch of these books, and I am all about it. So the illustrations are like, this is exactly like the kind of stuff that you see in the Kawaii Tarot. So lots of colorables. I'm real excited about this, you guys. So I am stoked to get into it. It's a little bit smaller than a book, say, by Johanna Basford, but the illustrations are not, I'm trying to see, there we go. The illustrations are not so detailed that you can't get in there and color and blend, and that's what I like to do. And somehow, around the time that I found out about this, I also found out about, I brought the package so I could show you, Bambino crayons. Have you guys ever heard of these? So they're not expensive at all, Bambino crayons. Hello? I will link these also from Amazon, but they are a clay-based crayon. So I put mine in a little box so that I could see all the colors, but that's really loud, but they're a crayon. They're crayons, but they are, they're clay-based. They're not wax-based, so they feel different to color with. I just experimented with a little bit just to kind of see what I thought. And it probably doesn't look that impressive, but they color to me more like a colored pencil than a crayon, which was super exciting. So I think those are going to be fun to play with when I want to just, especially if I want to do larger areas, because sometimes that can be tedious with the fine point of a colored pencil. So I tried this like larger area in the center of the cover page of Lulu Mayo's book just to see what I thought. And it's clear that they will blend really nicely. It's also clear that you can like apply different levels of pressure and get different levels of darkness, and you don't get that like streaky, waxy, I don't know, spotted look of like regular crayons. So like really excited about that. So that's a super fun thing from April. I got a bunch of Happy Mail in April, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about every single little piece of it, but I just want to say, if you sent me something delightful in April, thank you so, so much. There were a few things that came and brightened my day, but I do want to highlight, because this was just adorable. I made a comment in one of my, I think it was in my Cosmovisions walkthrough, the Cosmovisions deck by Joanna Nelson, that I wanted a bucket of Joanna Nelson stickers. So she sent me an envelope with a note and a pile of stickers, and it just completely was the most delightful, sweetest thing ever. I also did a few tarot trades that I wanted to quickly talk about, because I haven't talked about the decks yet, so consider this like a preview. I don't know if I'm going to do like walkthroughs of all of these. I haven't decided yet. I've been kind of trying to like take a step back from like feeling like I need to do walkthroughs immediately of things that come in, so just we'll see. But if there's anything here you really, really want to see, let me know. The first one that came in, this was a gift. This was not a trade, and this was a total surprise, is I got in the Woodland Wardens deck. This is by Jessica Rue. And it actually was sent to me by somebody who was I was hanging out in Kelly Fitzgerald, the Truth and Stories live stream, where she was talking about this deck and doing a walkthrough. And I was like, I don't know, am I going to be tempted to buy it? But there was somebody in that stream with me who then ended up sending it to me, because I had said, I'm not going to get it. And she sent it to me anyways. And I thought that was so sweet. So I am going to be playing with this. I haven't decided when or in what capacity yet, but it is here and I'm so excited about it. It's kind of funny because I ended up putting this in my anti-haul, and I told her about it. Like, she had sent me this. I'm like, oh my god, I just anti-hauled this. And she's like, it was really, really sweet. And it's one of those things that I was super tempted by, was like, I don't need it, but the fact that I have it makes me really, really happy. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, where you're like, you've talked yourself out of something and then somebody gifts it to you and you're like, okay, I'm good with that. That's kind of how this was. One of the most exciting trades I've done in recent times was I got to trade for the Bonefire Tarot. Hello? There we go, the Bonefire Tarot. This is specifically the indie edition, because I have the mass market. I love the mass market. I've talked about that before. Really, really excited to have this version. It's smaller than the mass market and it's matte. So I am stoked to have this in my possession. Peggy and I hunted down some fabric. Well, I hunted down and asked Peggy to buy it. Some fabric that I'm going to be using to put all of my Gabby Angus West stuff in, my mass market and my indie edition of the Bonefire, and the Weird of Sarah Howard that I've also gotten. I don't think I'm going to do a walkthrough. Well, I want to do a deep dive on the Bonefire specifically, and I may use this edition or the mass market. I haven't decided. That's going to be something I'd like to do. It's on my like wish list of videos to make, but I haven't made it yet. So like, I'll get there. And then another deck that I traded for was the Tarot by Caro. So I mentioned this. This was actually sitting on my Say Yes to the Deck list. I've got a Say Yes to the Deck video I'm going to be making in May, and this one was on my list. I was able to do a trade with Robin over at Toadstool Tarot for this deck, and I could not be happier. It is delightful. It is gorgeous. I really want to do a walkthrough of this one, but again, I don't know when I will be doing that, but it is really beautiful if you haven't seen this, but I will link down below what I can to help you find this deck, because it's gorgeous and I'm really excited to have it. I also traded with Robin for the original tarot by Debrig. I don't know how you say that, but the original tarot, it has this back, so you might have seen it around Tarot Tube. It's a linen edition Rider-Waite-Smith. It's very classic in its coloration, and I really wanted a linen Rider-Waite-Smith because I'm obsessed with linen cardstock. That's really what it boils down to. It's a very like understated linen. I don't know how to like say that, but it's just not, it's not like a really, like the cards feel to the touch smooth, so it doesn't feel super waffly, but it shuffles really beautifully. So I have that, and that was a fun thing that we were able to he was able to include in the trade, so that was really fun. And then there's a couple of other decks that came in recently that I wanted to just briefly talk about, because again, I don't know if I'm going to be making a whole video. The first of these is the Tarot Disassembled. This was actually sent to me by the creator just as a thank you, and that was really nice of her. It did come in, the box that it came in got completely wrecked in postage, so I have it in one of Peggy's pouches. But this is a really neat concept for a deck. If you haven't seen it, I did talk about it in my hot takes. But it's like all the symbols of the image have been broken down and like scattered about on like the card. So you can kind of piece apart or kind of notice different things about the cards and the symbology, see what jumps out at you. I thought this was a really cool concept for a deck. I'm excited to sort of look at it and play with it. I don't know that this is a deck I would read with. I think this is a deck that I would probably use for study or possibly even for Peggy's role-playing the tarot. So I may use it in that capacity. But that's a fun thing that came in. And then the next thing is more like, it's more like a repurchase in a way. So I rehomed all of my Affirmators individual oracles and purchased the Affirmators Deluxe, which is, I think, the coolest thing I've done recently. So it is in a really pretty box that opens up like that. So it's not like the previous Affirmators boxes where they have the slide out drawer. This has the same cardstock, it feels like, as the Affirmators Tarot. And it's massive. So this is very difficult even for me to shuffle. It has to be broken up into multiple piles. But this contains 100 of the cards from the original Affirmators, not just the original Affirmators Oracle or Affirmations deck, but their whole series. So they've pulled out basically their greatest hits. So there'll be cards in here that are from the Affirmators Oracle, the original one. There'll be ones here from Affirmators Creativity or Affirmators at Work or Affirmators Relationships, but it's just one cohesive deck now. This really excited me because I really enjoy these decks, but the cardstock wasn't great on the ones that I had. The packaging wasn't great on the ones that I had. And there were cards that didn't have any illustrations, that just had words, and those weren't my favorite. So there's none of those in this deck. It's just the illustrated cards. And now I basically have the Affirmators collection and the cards that I probably would have appreciated the most in one deck. And it's got some bling on the back, much like the Affirmators Tarot does. And it just now feels like I have a cohesive like Affirmators set, which is super fun. Again, I love the changes to the packaging. It's really colorful. It's big and beautiful. I love it. So that came in. And then before we get into all the decks that I used in April, a quick shout out for some books that I wanted to talk about. The first of these is on my Kindle, which I have lost. There it is. It got buried in all the decks. So, by the way, Peggy's little, I've talked about this before, but Peggy's little single pocket pouches here hold a Kindle perfectly. So I'm already on to the second book in the series, but the Unicorn Fam Book Club pick for March and April was Deborah Harkness's A Discovery of Witches. I'm currently on to A Shadow of Night. I'm just barely started the second book. So this is all I really have to show you about it. But I finished the first one. I found it a little bit slow because I usually read YA, and I felt like it just felt long and slow a little bit at points, but the story completely pulled me in. I'm super attached to the characters now. I can't wait to continue reading it. So love, love, love that book. In fact, actually at the time I'm filming this video, I'm about to get ready to do our Unicorn Fam Book Club live stream where we talk about it, but I really, really enjoyed it. I also have to eat my own words. So I had picked up Gerd Ziegler's Tarot, Mirror of the Soul. This is a book about the Thoth Tarot. And I picked this up because Dawn Michelle, who's in my Thoth Tarot study group, talked about this, as well as Marlena Girard, who's also in our study group, had talked about this book. And I had bought it, and then I tried to use it when I was studying the Thoth, like really trying to learn each card, and I didn't like it for that. I felt like it didn't agree with my other resources. I felt like it kind of went its own way. It kind of threw me off. So I put it away and was like, oh man, that's a regret. But in April, I worked with the Asherah Tarot, which I'll be talking about in just a second. And when I was working with the Asherah Tarot, I worked with this book as like a basic guidebook, and then I did enjoy it. It's almost like I needed to have finished the study piece first before I could enjoy this, because this kind of does go its own way, but it's got some neat stuff like affirmations, and it's got some suggestions on what you can do to follow up, like activities you can do based on the card you've drawn. And I really, really enjoyed it for that. So now that I'm thinking of it more as a Thoth guidebook and not as a Thoth study material, it suddenly works better. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I really enjoyed working with it in April with the Asherah Tarot specifically. And then I also finally, you guys heard me complaining about this, I finally got off the fence and purchased the mass market version of the Dark Goddess Tarot so that I could get a printed version of the guidebook. So I have the indie edition of this deck and I love it. But I wasn't able to get a printed full guidebook from the creator because it was gone by then. I had the app on my phone. So I asked, and my big hesitation was I didn't want to waste the cards. I knew I wanted my indie version of the deck and not the mass market version, and I didn't want to waste the cards. And then it occurred to me that I could reach out to a friend and say, hey, do you want the cards? And so I reached out to Danny. She said yes. She said she has the app. She's good. She doesn't need the book. So I sent her the deck and I kept the book. And it makes me so happy that I now have this for when I'm working with the Dark Goddess Tarot and I don't have to use an app. The app thing always makes me a little nervous because I'm like, what if they obsolete the app or I can't get it anymore or whatever? So I'm really happy I have that now and I wanted to shout it out. And now we're going to talk about decks that I worked with in April. So I mentioned the Astral Tarot. I've got it in one of Peggy's little pouches here. The Astral Tarot is by far, at this point, I would say my favorite Thoth clone. I don't know if that's what we call them. This artwork I adore. I found this a very fun deck to read with. It's one that I think I would enjoy reading with whether or not I had studied the Thoth. Because I've studied the Thoth, it's extra rich with meaning. But I really, really, really enjoy the artwork of this deck for its own sake. I just find it to be really bold and beautiful and colorful. I just love the way the cards are depicted. My favorite Thoth clone for sure. Yeah, by the time you see this, you will have also seen me gush about this deck, I'm quite sure, during the Thoth study group live stream I'm having with my Thoth study group. So that will have already happened. But I love this deck. As a Thoth deck, I'm so glad I got it, and I'm so glad I didn't get a bunch of other ones I was looking at, because this is the one I feel like I most want to use when I want to reach for a Thoth kind of energy, but I don't want to work with the Thoth itself. This is the one that I will reach for, pretty sure, hands down, no matter what. With the Astral Tarot, I actually used the Outgrow Yourself Oracle and Tarot as an Oracle deck, kind of, beside the Astral Tarot, and I actually really loved that combination, so this is also a Thoth-based deck. It's really unique. It's really cool. My copy is ever so slightly uneven because it's printed in two halves and then the halves are put together in the tuck box, and my two halves are slightly different sizes, which is really annoying. But I've seen some people unbox this deck. I think I watched Levi over at Masculine Intuition Readings unbox this deck, and his didn't look like it had that issue, so maybe it's been fixed. But this is a really, really great deck, and I feel like I can definitely see the Thoth Tarot, but I also enjoy using it as an oracle. I think the messages and the things on here are really good. Oh my God, I didn't shout out. Oh my God, how could I have not shouted this out? So if you don't know, Dawn Michelle over at Boho Tarot and I did a collab all about this deck specifically. So I went through it next to the Thoth Tarot, and she went and talked about using it as a tarot, and Dawn Michelle talked about using it as an oracle and showed it paired with a bunch of decks and gave her thoughts on it. It was super fun. So I will definitely link that also down below for you, or in the cards or somewhere, so that you can check it out. That was definitely a YouTube favorite. I don't know why I didn't write it down initially. Super fun. Really enjoyed working with this. Then I worked with the Star Tarot, because the Star Tarot, because I was kind of transitioning out of working with the regular original Thoth and then working with decks that had Thoth influences or were Thoth clones, so that I could kind of see if I could see that in the cards and work with that energy. So the Star Tarot is one of the first ones I thought of. Now this is the first edition that I have trimmed down, but this one has, as you can see, if you're familiar with the Thoth, there's a lot of Thoth, particularly through the Minor Arcana, and I feel like this is another deck that really takes the Thoth and makes it more accessible in a way. It just feels like, maybe not more accessible, that might be the wrong word, but it adds more to it. It sort of takes it and expands upon it in a way, or combines it with the Rider-Waite-Smith and then expands upon it. The Star Tarot is a gorgeous deck, and the guidebook is one of my top 10 favorite guidebooks ever. It does a really good job of highlighting all the things on the card, why they're there, what they mean, all that good stuff. So I really enjoyed using this. Breaking it out after studying the Thoth was super fun because it just tied so many things together. And I paired it with my combined Messenger and Seeker Oracle by Raven Phelan. This was such a fun pairing for that deck. I love Raven Phelan's artwork. Hello. I love her artwork. It's really vibrant. It stood well next to the Star Tarot, which is also very vibrant. And it worked really well as an oracle pairing with that deck. So definitely recommend. This is my personalized combined version of the Messenger and the Seeker Oracle. I made a whole video about this process, which you can check out. I'll link it down below. And then I worked with another Thothy deck, and it is the Sun and Moon Tarot. So I worked with the Sun and Moon Tarot. This one gosh, you know, I think after working with the Ashura and the Star Tarot, which are so visually dense with the symbology on the cards, this one felt almost too spacious and too far away for me. I don't know what that means for my future with this deck, but I've rehomed it once and I've repurchased it once. So I think I'm going to hold on to it and work with it some more for a while and see what I think. I remember really just being excited about it the first time I bought it. The second time I bought it, I was excited again, but for a different reason, because it represented my Thoth studies. But then working with it again, after the Ashura and the Star Tarot, I just felt like this one, it just left me feeling a little bit wanting, if that makes any sense. It just felt like it was not as rich as the others, and that was kind of a bummer. But I used that one next to the Prairie Majesty Oracle, which I do think looked beautiful next to it. This is the independent version of the Prairie Majesty Oracle. And that was a lot of fun to pair these two together. Hello? There we go. It was a lot of fun to pair them together. I feel like they looked great next to one another. The Prairie Majesty Oracle is a deck I'm still figuring out how I feel about. I'm still figuring out what my relationship to it is, and I keep kind of waffling a bit about how I feel about working with it, but it is really unique in the Oracle space, and I appreciate it. I'm just still figuring out if it's one that's ultimately going to be for me over the long term. So April didn't clarify that as much as I was hoping, so we will see. It's one of those time will tell kind of situations. And then finally in April, and I feel like I worked with a lot of different decks in April, but after working with just the Thoth for like almost 2 full months, this feels like a plethora of variety, and it's been amazing. So the last deck combination that I worked with in April was I worked with the Hilda Tarot, and I have this feeling, I'm going to try it and I will report back, but I have this idea that I may use the Hilda Tarot for ancestor work, because she feels like she could be one of my actual aunts and like a quirky great aunt or something. I don't know how to describe it, but she just feels like we could be related. So this is Hilda. Now I think this deck is currently out of print. This is the Gingham edition. I feel like this deck could be out of print right now. It's delightful. If you know Hilda as a pinup figure, this is just, it's a lot of nostalgia. It's a lot of fun, but she's this like quirky kind of almost Lucille Ball-esque quirky character. You can tell she just gets herself into predicaments. She's hilarious. She's unabashed in a way, but also she's really special. So I thought, wow, she might be kind of fun to work with for ancestor work. I just thought that might be neat. It occurred to me as I was working with this deck and having fun with it. I don't know. We'll see. And can we talk about the fact that Peggy found this piece of fabric and then cut it on an angle for me so that I could have a matching bag? Isn't that adorable? Because this was like an up and down checkered fabric. I thought that was the coolest thing that she did for me. Okay, I paired that deck with the Radiant Crystal Oracle by Bouchette Designs, and that was really fun. I enjoyed working with this deck. I enjoyed thinking about the energies of the crystals. This is one of those decks that has the crystal on the front with keywords, and then it's got some information and a message on the back. I really enjoyed that, actually, and I got some really great readings out of this deck, so we will see what the future holds. But this is the first time I've ever used a crystal oracle or crystal deck as an oracle deck, and so we'll see how that works out over the long term. I put it in this pretty star bag because I felt like it matched it really well. But I had a lot of fun. I guess this is the point. I had a lot of fun playing with a bunch of different decks in April, and I'm just really excited to see what's coming up for me. I've got some other fun decks that I'm looking forward to playing with in April, and I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun now that I have come out of the sort of depth of my Thoth tarot study, and I'm kind of rebranching back out into decks. It's interesting to see how my reading style is shifting because of that knowledge and like how it's affecting me. So that's been really exciting and really fun. I will definitely keep you guys posted, but these are all the things I enjoyed and worked with in April. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I love making these monthly videos. Don't forget that I do have a channel membership here where I do more content, more live streams. It's where we have the Unicorn Fam Book Club. We do exclusive videos for magical unicorns, and I do monthly tarot readings for magical unicorns and up. We also have a badass tier where Peggy and I talk on self-worth topics, and those get really meaty and vulnerable, and those are really good. So yeah, if you're interested in the membership, check that out. I'll have there's a join button that sometimes shows up, but not if you're on like an iPad or iPhone or something. So if you don't see the join button next to the subscribe button, check the description box, because I always have a link that says click here to join the Unicorn Fam, and that's a web link. So it will take you to the page that will help you sign up for Unicorn Fam if that's something that you're interested in. But I really, really enjoy the membership. It's a fun place where we get to do extra stuff, and I like it a lot. So if you want to check it out, you can check that out. Otherwise, please do remember to click the like button, subscribe if you're new here, hang out, click the bell, all of those actions, comment down below. Everything you do to engage with the content I do here on YouTube really, really helps support the channel, and I appreciate you all so, so much. blush. So thank you very much for being here, for putting your eyeballs on this space and hanging out with me. And as always, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.